it is time once again for some Fate lore. Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at these. Yeah, obviously I can explain, and I know y'all heard this many times before. Yeah, like literally this one right here is an hour long. So right now I'm gonna look at like a good 30 minutes of it. And no, I'm not gonna make a part 1 or part 2. I just look at 30 minutes right now, you know, have that little pre-recording, then do the other 30 minutes and then upload it hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday or so. But basically, yeah, someone just wanted me to look at this and I'm like, yeah, I might as well just get back into it. Cause yeah, I know I missed another Magecraft. Yeah, actually just pretty busy on Sunday, and like I said before many a times, just yeah, trying to get all this stuff done, yeah, colleges and all that. So, you know, get that done first, then start the recordings and all that later on. But yeah, let's see, because yeah, right now, let's see, we're looking at Olympus. Yeah, I thought I already looked at this, but no, this is actually different. Yeah, it should be different. But yeah, sorry about not doing any lore videos, because I know I'm mostly done with all like the main storyline ones, and afterwards I'm gonna just look at the strictly characters once I'm done. Yeah, those should be shorter videos then. But yeah, pretty much about it. So I hope you guys will enjoy this though. Like always, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, let's get this reaction started.
Welcome back to Otaku Daikun.
Yep.
After several months,
Welcome
we
back.
finally got the chance to experience the continuation of Lost Belt 5.
Yeah, and the
English.
continuation of
With
these lore
Corvette taking on the
videos.
machine gods of Olympus, we have quite a lot of lore to cover in addition to just recapping the events you can watch in full via my live streams. Even when my previous video on Atlantis greatly covered the Olympian backstory, actually encountering Olympus itself gives us a lot more to talk about. Let's start by revisiting the core of this Lost Belt, the machine gods. Turns out, in the Nasuverse, all of the Greek gods we're familiar with were originally alien starships from another universe.
Yep.
It all started when an alien race built the mothership Chaos as a means of escaping their dying planet. Chaos, piloting itself, was programmed to search the universe for another suitable planet to inhabit, but it couldn't find anything compatible in its own universe. It then decided to explore our universe by disassembling itself into a smaller fleet that could slip through the boundary between universes. By the time this fleet found Earth, it had already fought and rearranged itself such that Zeus and the other Olympian ships had conquered over their Titan ancestors. They came to Earth, the first planet meeting enough of the criteria for its original civilization to thrive. Too bad their creators have long since perished. Earth's humans worshipped the machines as gods, and so they became more proper gods. Their respective abilities as starships manifested as divine authorities, and they even made humanoid terminals to better communicate with humanity. Despite their original programming, the machine gods found new purpose in watching over the human race. What separates proper human history from this Lost Belt is the fight against Sephar, the White Titan. Normally, the Greek gods lose in the fight against Sephar, with all of their machine bodies, called Aletheia, being destroyed, leaving only their humanoid terminals. For the Lost Belt, Zeus decided to reprogram and combine with the other gods, becoming strong enough to defeat Sephar with their Aletheia intact. Ever since, the machine gods have protected and presided over the people of Greece, giving them eternal life and other blessings in the form of nanomachines called Kleronomia. What we first experienced was Atlantis, the remnants of the Great War between the gods known as the Olympia Machia. Various gods and humans
Yeah, I was
alike
just
fought against
listening
Zeus,
so far,
hoping to liberate humanity
because I
from
know
the age
most of
gods.
this is about the
Technically,
same
all
from
of
what
the
I've heard
gods opposed
before.
Zeus, but he reprogrammed a select few of them to join his side.
So yeah, just get a little recap.
Obviously, Zeus's faction won, and so the Age of Gods continued. All the losers and outcasts were left among the islands of Atlantis, while the Lost Belt's true civilization thrives within Olympus, a great subterranean city surrounded by stars. It's underground, accessed through a deep pit in the ocean, and yet it's also celestial. This is because Olympus exists within a different texture of reality.
Yeah, I can tell
It might be easier
that.
just to consider it a separate dimension, closed off from the rest of the world. Before Chaldea's arrival, a whole bunch
Oh,
of
what is
servants
that?
were able to reach Olympus
Mordred
and form a
freaking
rebellion
sign.
called the God Destroyer Alliance.
Yeah, I looked at my fate
It includes
apocrypha.
a handful of servants we've already met.
I don't know about the
such
other
as
ones,
Medea
though.
Lilly, Sakata Kintoki, Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Elena Blavatsky, Mordred, Fran, Minamoto no Raiko, and most importantly, Caligula. They faced off against the few machine gods who allied with Zeus in the war. In all, Zeus is aided by the gods Demeter, Aphrodite, Europa, and Dioscuri. I already mentioned the Dioscuri twins during Atlantis.
Yeah.
Castor and Pollux
I remember
were killed
them.
by Kirstaria Wodim and summoned as his servant. With knowledge of their lives from proper human history, the twins resent humanity, mostly for Castor being remembered as a human instead of his godlike sister. In the machine god fleet, Demeter was a travel resource manufactory, in charge of waste management and extracting natural resources. Through worship, she became an Earth Mother goddess of the harvest, providing the people of Olympus eternal life through eating ambrosia. Even if her people are killed, her authority allows her to bring them back to life.
Oh, simple
She
as
is
that.
conflicted about this ability to kill and revive people at will, though, because during the Olympia-Machia, her daughter Persephone opposed Zeus, and so Zeus ordered Demeter to kill their own child. Ever since, her motherly love has been cruel and twisted. Aphrodite was another of Zeus's daughters. As a machine, she was an education terminal, as well as an attack vessel. From human worship, she became the goddess of love and beauty, but during the war,
Yeah, hence the
Zeus
hearts right
reprogrammed her to
there.
be more cruel and callous. In the Lost Belt, she is no longer a goddess who partakes in love, and instead functions as a war machine, whose voice brainwashes her enemies into fighting themselves. It's worth noting that Aphrodite was the wife of Hephaestus, god of fire and the forge. Hephaestus was one of the gods that opposed Zeus in the war, but after being defeated, Zeus kept him around to maintain the technologically advanced Olympus. Most of Hephaestus's body was scattered among Atlantis, and that portion of his consciousness helped Chaldea construct a bow for Orion. Up in Olympus, much of Hephaestus's consciousness is suppressed, forcing him to perform maintenance on the city. His data was merged with that of the Titan Prometheus. Prometheus also opposed Zeus in the Olympia-Machia, and as a result, he was punished by having to aid Hephaestus. Despite the ominous dialogue at the end of Atlantis, this Olympian version of Hephaestus still allies with humanity, even while under the careful supervision of Senji Muramasa. Oh, and for a fun fact, it seems that Chaldea's flame embers, and the simulated enemies that drop them, are all modeled after the image of Prometheus granting humanity knowledge. It's a pretty good system for gaining experience. Europa is an interesting case, in that her body and mind are from proper human history, and not the Lost Belt. Back in the mythology we know, Zeus was a total horn dog, cheating on his wife Hera
Oh,
to
yeah?
copulate with various mortal women. Europa was one such woman.
I mean,
known
who
for her
wouldn't? I'm
immense
just
beauty.
saying, all these
Zeus took the
fate
form of a
females,
pure white
yeah,
bull
they
and convinced Europa to ride
yeah
him
really
to the
be
Isle
showing
of
a
Crete,
lot.
where he made her queen and fathered with her 3
Like
famous
simply
sons.
just
Her family
looking
is
at their
connected to both the
outfits.
legendary Minotauros and Medea of Colchis. Even further, the continent upon which she rode Zeus became known as Europe in her honor.
Okay,
Naturally, she is a Rider-class
that's where
servant,
she got the
often
name
seen
from.
riding her steed, the mechanical bull Tauros that Zeus once inhabited. Her noble phantasm is a gift from Zeus, the bronze giant Talos. Originally, it was a monster that was repurposed into an automaton by Hephaestus. It protects Europa with its extreme molten heat that evaporates foes on contact. The major question is, of course, why is Europa from proper human history here in the Lost Belt? Well, during the Olympia-Machia, Zeus was aided by his wife Hera, but her body was destroyed in the fighting. To preserve her remains, Zeus had her merged with Europa's spirit core. Thus, even though she's a mortal woman, Europa is accepted in Zeus's council at Olympus's main shrine. Perhaps this wasn't the best idea, though, considering Europa is not completely faithful to this Lost Belt Zeus. Compared to the Zeus from proper human history, this Lost Belt version has become more tyrannical. At best, he can only love humanity as one would a pet, feeling the need to control and deny humans their freedom, at least the freedom to leave his own city and explore other possibilities in life. Thus, Europa secretly sides with the God Destroyer Alliance, working alongside Hephaestus to supply the rebellion with resources. I mentioned in the previous video that the rebels hide out within caves, the hollowed-out tunnels of Hades' domain. Their base is one of the few places Zeus cannot see or hear remotely. While it makes sense for heroic spirits summoned by the counterforce to oppose Olympus, it's quite surprising that the alliance is actually led by two humans, a brother and sister named Makarios and Adele, respectively.
Oh, those two.
Their parents fought and died in the Olympia, meaning that they've been around for 10,000 years. These twins were given the same luxuries as every other human of Olympus. By feasting on ambrosia, they gained immortality, living without injury or worry. So long as they remained in Olympus, they were free to explore whatever hobbies or interests they wanted, and they surely did as such for thousands of years. When they think back to their parents, however, they realize this immortality is stagnant. No matter how much they age mentally and emotionally, they are still treated as adolescents. Their bodies don't grow any older, and with the passage of time, every day of theirs starts to feel the same as the last. While all the other Olympians are happy to preserve this stagnation, Makarios and Adele want to bring an end to the gods for the sake of a new tomorrow. They worked with the servants I mentioned before to devise various means of slaying the gods. One kind of tool at their disposal were the Stymphalides, small airships modeled off the Stymphalian birds that Heracles once
Yeah, I can
slayed as
see
part of
the
his labors.
bird-like features.
Another is the 7-link heroic spirit cannon, a mystic code combining the mana from various servants with Cleronomia from the coexistence faction that opposed Zeus way back. It's designed to strike a god's machine body and expose their divine core within. Most important, however, is the God Destroyer Grand Class Designation Summon. The rebels figured the best way to defeat Zeus would be to create a special summoning ritual that would allow them to summon yet another Grand Servant. Normally, something like this could only be done by the counterforce to oppose a beast of humanity, but by channeling Olympus's vast mana reserves, the Alliance has figured out a way to make it happen. Specifically, they want to summon a Grand Servant from Rome, the civilization that emerged after Greece. Surely a mythology that carried the torch of Greece's glory would have the power to rival the Greek gods. While much of Roman theology is borrowed from the Greek
Oh, did
pantheon,
that gold,
one of their unique deities is
red
Quirinus,
armor
or
with the
warrior of the
black?
spear.
Okay.
This god was adopted into early Roman society
Oh, and
as
then
a
add some
deified
more on
version
him.
of Rome itself, imagined as the immortal form of Romulus, the founding hero of Rome. We met a much goofier version of Romulus all the way back in the Septim Singularity, but the version the Alliance hopes to summon is Romulus Quirinus, his post-mortem godlike ascension. He represents the terror and violence of Rome's expansion, as well as how it took human civilization another step closer to the modern age where the gods do not thrive. In that regard, he's like an anti-god hero, despite being divine himself. Since the Alliance has Caligula, the third emperor of Rome, on their side, his body can be used as a catalyst to guarantee Romulus appears. As a servant, Caligula is normally an insane berserker who can't even speak. However, when he was in Atlantis, fighting to make his way to Olympus, he took a hit from Artemis's orbital cannon. As a result of some mythological gymnastics, this wound up curing his madness and altering his abilities as a servant. Legend has it that Caligula was loved by the moon, personified by the moon goddess Diana. It is Diana's love and protection that gives Caligula his madness. In some ways, Diana is considered to be the Roman incarnation of Artemis, so when Artemis attacked Caligula, it more or less revoked Diana's protection, returning his sanity. Typically, Caligula's noble phantasm, Flucticulus Diana, invokes madness unto others. But ever since Artemis's attack, it has had the opposite effect, curing those under mental distress. Because Caligula is a critical asset for summoning
wouldn't that be a
Romulus,
good
however,
thing?
he was stored away in a freezer.
Well, it depends
at
on
the
how
home
he's
of Makarios
trying to
and
use
Adele
it, but yeah,
until
wouldn't
the
that be
summoning was ready.
good thing?
Among
Yeah,
the
help
gods that
them
opposed Zeus in the Olympia
with
it was
that mental
Ares, the god of
illness.
war, who led the charge. As a means of testing the Grand Servant summoning, the Alliance planned to summon a successor of sorts for Ares. This is the Setsu Armor Kumano, or Golden Bear, a mechanical samurai made from Sakata Kintoki's spirit origin and Minamoto no Raiko's noble phantasm data. Even though the summoning ritual has yet to be completed, the armor can be summoned as a formidable distraction against the gods. That said, the ritual needs preparation, which comes in 2 phases. First, various summoning circles must be placed throughout Olympus, at key points in the city's network of monolay lines. None of these locations are in Hades' domain, which means the Alliance must expose themselves on the surface. Then, with all the circles engraved, they need Hephaestus to forge a device called the Grand Summon Article to activate them. Tragically, the God-Destroyer Alliance never got this far. Instead, while they were placing the circles, they were all wiped out by Demeter and Aphrodite. Demeter's cries could annihilate entire districts of Olympus, while Aphrodite's songs would brainwash the servants into slaughtering each other. Caligula could have prevented this, but it was too risky to take him out of cold storage. Thus, by the time Ritska arrives, the only surviving members of the Alliance are Makarios and Adele. Luckily, the other servants were able to preserve their minds in the Alliance's AI system, offering assistance from beyond the grave, as it were. Let's return to Zeus himself, the big boss of Olympus. Thus far, he's taken control of his own allies, reprogramming them to gain their strength and obedience. His ship form was an Annihilation-type mobile fortress, and this translates to his god form as an authority over destruction. His thunderbolts bring deadly judgment upon his enemies, but he rarely uses their full potential in order to protect the citizens of Olympus. Despite the negative stigma of manipulating or destroying the other machines, Zeus is ultimately trying to save humanity in his own way. He's well aware that the Olympus he rules is a lost belt, and without the fantasy tree Magellan, which he prefers to call the world tree Atlas, his whole world will disappear.
Yep.
He hopes to maintain the Age
Without
of Gods
it, all
and
that
his
would
own
be
authority
gone.
so that he can preserve humanity. He aims to make a record of human civilization and take it with as he returns to traveling the stars. That way, even after humanity is eradicated, their legacy still remains in some form. To do this, he needs all the energy from the fantasy tree just as it blooms, which means betraying the alien god that's been allowing his world to survive as a lost belt. This is a secret he keeps
taking
from
the
the alien
power from the
god's
thing
alter ego
that's
apostles,
keeping
and
your
only
world
reveals to his
alive.
confidant and friend Kirstario Odim.
I was about to say,
Turns
what was his
out,
name
we've
again?
got more details regarding the
Kirsaria?
Lost Belt's cryptor. I mentioned before that he was a talented mage who invoked his father's wrath simply for being chosen to inherit the family's magic crest. Rather than attacking directly, Kirstaria's dad sent assassins to kill him, armed with weapons similar to the origin bullets used by Kiritsugu Emiya. That is,
Kiritsugu,
weapons
yeah, those
designed
are
not just
lethal.
to hurt a mage's body, but also their magic circuits.
Yep.
Kirstaria was shot by such a gun, but was able to escape his assailants before passing out in a London alleyway. He was saved by a little boy,
Whoa,
an
okay.
impoverished kid who lived by himself in a rundown shack beneath a bridge. Despite lacking money, hygiene, nutrition, wealth, and
Yeah, I could see that. I
education,
thought it was
the boy
something
was
different. I'm
overwhelmingly
like,
compassionate, using his
you're looking
humble
kind of
abode to
crazy, but
shelter
now they just
Kirstaria's badly
didn't have no
wounded body.
food.
You see, the boy had a treasure beyond his comprehension, a mystic code of concealment. This amulet, dating back to before the clock tower was founded, allows the boy to run about the city unnoticed. This is how he scavenges for food,
Okay, yeah,
stealing
just-
bread from the market. It also keeps
Nah,
the shack
I'd be
hidden,
taking a little
which
bit
is
more
how
than that.
Kirstaria
If
was
I'm looking
able to
like
avoid
this,
further attempts on his life.
I ain't gonna be just some
For
bread.
2 weeks,
Unless that's
the
all
boy
they got.
selflessly stayed near Kirstaria, sharing the meager and moldy bread he needed to survive. As if the boy weren't malnourished enough, he skipped meals so that Kirstaria could eat. When food ran out, the boy needed to go steal more, but decided to leave the amulet at home to protect Kirstaria. Thus, the boy stole bread at his own expense, getting attacked and beaten in the process. While he did return with nourishment, the beatings were too much for his fragile composition. The boy died in an attempt to feed Kirstaria, a man he'd only
Yeah, there
watched
wouldn't be
from
enough
afar and
meat
felt
on
like
his
saving.
bones.
Up until this point in
It
his
wouldn't
life,
have enough
Kirstaria thought he
endurance,
was
yeah,
destined to do great
to
things for
take
the
those
world.
hits.
He had amazing talent as a mage and practiced hard to improve himself, yet he never had a clear vision for what to do with his abilities. Inspired by the boy's sacrifice, Kirshdaria lived on, gathering all the strength he could for a similar, yet far more grandiose, sacrifice. He once told Chaldea that he became a cryptor in order to bring about a return to the Age of Gods. This was technically true, but also quite elusive. More specifically, Kirshdaria Wodim wants to use the power of his fantasy tree to turn all of Olympus's people into gods. Calling the fantasy tree Magellan
All
Atlas
elements
is
are
rather
gods.
fitting, because he requests the
How
help
would
of
that
the Titan
work?
Atlas to realize his dream. Rather than using his tree, the most developed one, to bring the alien god to Earth, he plans to betray it and have Atlas manifest in its place. If everyone becomes a god, then hopefully there will be no more inequality, no more
Yeah, because
war,
everybody's a
no more
god.
suffering. This is obviously not the world that Zeus envisions, so Kirshdaria keeps it a secret, only ever telling one other person, his servant Canis.
Canis, yo.
Turns out, his choice of summoning Canis isn't just a sign that he's a man of culture. Rather, the two of them have a lot in common. Both of them had hit rock bottom and saw the weakness of humanity, including their own weakness. In the face of that, both of them refused to give in, and instead took advantage of every opportunity to grow stronger. Canis refused to accept her weakness, and sought divinity from the very god that violated her. She took her suffering and made it into strength. In that same way, Kirshdaria emerged from his father's assassination plot to become a talented mage. Even with a curse on his magic circuits, he continues to be one of the strongest mages alive. He ignores and hides his weakness, putting forth an air of confidence, even after his body has shriveled up following his revival by the alien god. While he may have struggled with Canis and her uncontrollable temper, she was the only servant to truly understand his goal of betraying both the Olympian gods and the very alien god he pretended to serve. It wasn't at all his intention for the Dioscuri twins to
The
nearly
hairless
kill her back in
apes,
Atlantis.
okay.
To further add to Kirshdarria's conviction and sincerity, we learned that in order to save his fellow Team A members, he had to prove they were
Oh,
worthy
the Emperors,
of being brought back
okay.
to life.
5.
Thus, the alien god put him and the
What was
other
that?
cryptors
Oh,
through dreamlike
Ophelia.
simulations of Getia's incineration of humanity. Through various alternate possibilities, Kirshdaria traveled with each of the others in a fight to save the world. He came to know and respect each one of them as beloved friends. Sadly, he's the only one who remembers these trials, and he never told the others about what they went through together. Everything amounted to nothing more than a dream, but even though he couldn't make those dreams a reality, he still cherishes the memories, even when the other cryptors plot against him. And plot they do. Ophelia died in her lost belt, and Hinako Acta wound up joining Chaldea as Yume Ren.
Yeah, don't want to tell them
Cadix
all
Zemlopis
that.
and Scandinavia Peperoncino have outlived their own lost belts and have been given permission to reside comfortably in Olympus's orbital shrine. Under an agreement with Kirshdaria,
You know what? I
Baral
think
Gut has decided to
I also
abandon
got-
his British lost belt and
I think I
hangs
got
out
one
on
more
Olympus
lost
with the other
belt.
cryptors, welcomed as guests of Zeus's dear friend.
Unless I've seen
last
like
cryptid,
AMVs on
David
it, and it's
Void,
just
is
yet
still
a
off in his
actual
own
like
lost
lore
belt,
video from
barely
him
making
isn't out
contact
yet.
with his fellow allies. Perhaps it's for
But I
the
have to
best,
go,
considering the cryptors
look back
aren't
at that.
exactly loyal to each other. Caddock, rather childishly, wants to discover what Kirshdaria is truly up to. He feels inadequate and left out of the loop. He deals with this by conspiring against the gods, assisting the God Destroyer Alliance, while disguised under a hood that looks like it came from an entirely different organization. Pepe is practically a double agent
Oh,
at
hold on,
this
was that
point. Now
Musashi?
that his
Okay.
lost belt has been eliminated, he seems to aid both Mashu and Kirshdaria, treating them both as his valuable allies. He seems to know Kirshdaria opposes the gods, and helps Chaldea when their objectives align. He also wants to get revenge upon Limbo, aka Ashiadomen, for essentially corrupting the Indian Lost Belt.
Yeah, I already know about him.
On that note, let's revisit the alien gods' apostles, since we learn a lot more about them in this chapter. The least important right now is probably Rasputin Kire.
That boy
Even though
Kire.
people call him Rasputin, ever since Russia, Rasputin has more or less given control of the body back to Kire. He dutifully follows the alien god's direct orders, but doesn't really take action outside of them. In that regard, he's not much of a threat at the moment. What does come into play is how Rasputin truly cared about Anastasia, and her final wish in the Russian Lost Belt was for him to look after Caddock. Kire vicariously honors this, and it was why he came to Caddock's rescue when Chaldea took him prisoner. Then there's Ashiadoman, who prefers to be called the Caster of Limbo. We last saw him in India, trying to provoke Arjuna Altar into essentially destroying the world. No matter how many times we kill him, he keeps coming back because every version we fight is just a Shikigami clone. He has a spell in place letting him create as many of these bodies as he wants, effectively making him immortal. As such, he doesn't hesitate to voice his thoughts among the gods, even though they find him just as annoying and arrogant as we do. Still, this is where the alien god is supposed to descend, so it makes sense he'd be here. Senji Muramasa is the most bizarre of the apostles. He has no reason to support the alien god other than loyalty to the one who summoned him. After cutting the Atlantis Hephaestus in half and stealing its memory storage, he came back to Olympus to act like an apprentice to its Hephaestus. Here, he's put in a rather contradicting scenario. Kirei asked him to protect Olympus's Hephaestus, as it's an important asset to the city's maintenance. However, Hephaestus is still on Chaldea's side, forging the grand summoning article needed to summon Romulus. Hephaestus even threatens to destroy himself unless Muramasa helps with its construction. Thus, Muramasa considers making the article a necessary part of keeping Hephaestus safe as ordered. Zeus also asked him to kill Chaldea, and while he intends to, he's prioritizing Hephaestus's protection first. Kind of a half-assed villain if you ask me, and thankfully so, considering he could probably cut us down with ease. As a reminder, Tamamo Vich Koyenskaya is not technically one of the alien god's apostles. They only appear to be working together as part of a ceasefire agreement, where they each stay out of each other's business. She wants to become a beast of humanity, but we now have much more details on exactly what that means. I previously mentioned that Koyenskaya is one of the Tamamo Nine, specifically the tail associated with Daji, but the full truth is more specific. Daji is likened to the nine-tailed fox Amaterasu in myth, and so it's true that the Tamamo Nine shares traits of Daji, but ultimately these are separate beings, and Qinshi Huang referred to Koyenskaya as Daji rather naively. In fact, Koyenskaya herself isn't actually one of the Tamamo Nine at all. She's just using Tamamo's Saint Graph as a host, hence the confusion. So, what exactly is she? Well, Koyenskaya gets an entire event to herself later on in the story, so I won't spoil much of that now. But basically, she's a nature spirit that manifested from the Tunguska event. In 1908, a massive explosion occurred over Russia, likely the result of an igniting comet or asteroid. It torched the forests, blasted away land, and ended the lives of many animals caught in the blast. Koyenskaya resulted from nature's screams, basically. She's still around, surprisingly, because of our adorable foe. We're learning a lot more about beast-class servants.
Yeah, wasn't that a god too, actually?
The Japanese version of Fate Grand Order. An easy way
to I always saw it with...
is to liken them to a council of
I forgot what it was.
Beasts like Getia, Tiamat, Kama, and Kiara are all natural antitheses to humanity. They're the yin to humanity's yang. There are 7 designations for the beast class, but that doesn't mean there are only 7 beasts in total. Rather, at any given moment, there are 7 beast class slots that can be occupied by various beings with the right qualifications. Kama and Kiara, for instance, were first candidates for the Beast class, and each of them manifested as 2 sides of Beast 3 through their own actions. Foe, also known as Primate Murder, or Cathpalug, was actually Beast number 4. He wasn't much a threat to humanity, presumably because Merlin tamed him long ago. He more or less gave up being a beast, instead using his power to resurrect Mashu after she was incinerated by Getia's noble phantasm. He's still a magical creature, but this event left the slot of Beast 4 open for some other entity to inhabit. Since then, Koyenskaya has been seeking to fill that vacancy, and her NFF services business, which gathers all sorts of unique phantasmal species from the Lost Belts, is part of that effort. The last thing I want to mention before diving into the main plot of Olympus is Miyamoto Musashi. She is, by far, Chaldea's most enigmatic servant. Originally, she was a gifted human from another world that got pruned. Her home was no different than the Lost Belts, except it never had the benefit of a fantasy tree to preserve it. Rather than dying with her world, Musashi had the ability to jump between worlds, a skill Chaldea refers to as a mobile singularity.
Go through those worlds.
Ritsuka Fujimaru first met Musashi in a dream world, and later in the pseudo-singularity of Shimosa. During that time, Ritsuka and Musashi became great friends and partners. At the end of Shimosa, Musashi mastered her swordsmanship, the style Niten Ichiryu, reaching a state of void, zero, or nothingness. Sadly, she also wound up dying as Toke Castle crumbled in flames. Thanks to her bond with Ritsuka, however, she was able to be summoned as a heroic spirit, and continued her travels as Ritsuka's servant. We met her on various adventures, such as the Las Vegas Summer Singularity, and she even showed up during the Russian Lost Belt. Musashi continues to travel between worlds, believing she still has something out there she has yet to cut. Despite mastering her swordsmanship, she has yet to use it to its full potential. The more she travels, though, the more she finds herself returning to Chaldea's world, and so she takes it as a sign that, by helping Ritsuka, she'll find her true purpose. As such, Musashi found herself in Atlantis, where she hung out with the cloaked guy who saved us from Kirshtaria. Trusting in Ritsuka, she made her way to Olympus ahead of us, and is waiting for our arrival. Before proceeding, let's go ahead and summarize what we've learned. This Lost Belt exists because the Greek machine gods who came to Earth wound up winning against Sephar, keeping their machine bodies. Under Zeus's leadership, they maintained the Age of Gods, blessing the humans of Olympus with immortality. The gods and humans who opposed this rule mostly died out thousands of years ago, but some survivors, as well as servants from the counterforce, still maintain a rebellious force called the God Destroyer Alliance. This Lost Belt's fantasy tree is by far the most developed, and the alien god plans to use it to descend to Earth in a suitable body. Its cryptor, Kirshtaria, secretly plots against the alien god, hoping to use the tree's energy and the god Atlas to turn all surviving humans into godlike beings who won't have to die or suffer. It's a delicate situation, as the gods, cryptors, and alter egos all gather with different goals, hiding their true intentions from each other. Thus, Chaldea arrives to this deceptive environment in the storm border. Emerging from the pit connecting Olympus to Atlantis, we are more or less falling, and as such we're vulnerable as Zeus intimidates us with his lightning. Though these are mere warning shots, they're enough to severely damage Captain Nemo. We have no choice but to make an emergency landing on one of Olympus's lower districts, and essentially play dead to avoid further attack. Chaldea has a lot of issues going into this city. For one, Olympus's internal network for mana isn't compatible with their summoning system, so we don't have any new servants to take with us. Both Nemo and Da Vinci are incapacitated, so the storm border has little to protect itself with. Our only hope is to rendezvous with the counterforce servants, but we don't know they're all dead. Thus, Ritsuka and Mashu set out on their own, camouflaging themselves with specialized mystic codes. They appear to dress like the people of Olympus, and infiltrate the city to learn more about the situation. By pretending to be from a backwater district, they play ignorant, allowing the citizens to explain their daily lives and the gods' blessings. All goes well until Europa appears over the city's intercom, informing everyone that Chaldea has come to destroy their Lost Belt. This is the first time we've seen a Lost Belt king be completely forthright about what a Lost Belt is and the dangers that come from losing their fantasy trees. Europa informs everyone that Chaldea's master can be identified by command spells, and
they found them out.
Our camouflage didn't take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Most of the people find Ritsuka and panic, running to places of worship to hide. Others, who had trained in the military,
Mashu, that's who foe is always with.
Tough, beefed up on Clearonomia to the point where they rival servants. Fearing this would be the case, Sherlock emerges from spirit form to help in battle, but even he can't take down a single soldier. Off to a rough start, we're thankfully saved by Musashi.
Yeah, see, look, there she goes.
The soldier down.
My girl right there.
We feel bad at first, but it's fine since fallen soldiers heal and revive after some time. Sherlock is able to help us hide within a barrier, but that cover falls apart when Talos shows up. Musashi does a valiant job slicing through this metal giant, but she can't do much when it too heals all of its damage. Fleeing the Talos brings us back to the city square, where Europa, Demeter, Aphrodite, and the Dioscuri surround us. Aphrodite's
Yeah,
voice
these
attacks our minds,
3
and Zeus
or just 2
threatens
for
over the
now?
intercom to subdue us with lightning. To buy us some time, Sherlock pulls Zeus's attention and gets struck by a bolt of lightning that nearly kills him. Rather than a death sentence, however, it appears to cast a curse on Sherlock's mind, interfering with his deductive reasoning. Oddly enough,
Yeah,
he
that's
still seems pretty
literally
smart,
what makes him
just a bit
Sherlock
more
Holmes.
goofy, I'd guess.
Can't take that
Our
away
journey
from him.
nearly meets its end when
I
we're
mean, yeah,
saved
there's
at the last
obviously
minute
more
by
to
the
him
God
than that,
Destroyer
but
Alliance.
yeah, he's gonna
Macarius and
need
Adele
that
use Hades-inspired
reasoning.
magecraft to create a diversion, and the hooded Caddock leads us
Yeah, those
through an
2
escape route.
twins.
The Alliance has one of Athena's terminals, a mechanical owl named Minerva. It, too, helps with the escape effort, allowing Ritsuka, Mashu, Sherlock, and Musashi to flee toward Hades' underground tunnels.
Oh yeah, and then that's where
The
Zeus
party feels helpless
won't be able
against
to
these
find them.
insurmountable odds, so Musashi tries to invigorate their morale through a duel. Despite the curse on his mind, Sherlock has no trouble identifying the hooded man as Caddock. With his cover blown, Caddock gives us some advice before returning to the orbital shrine Dodona. This shrine is also our goal, but normally humans are forbidden from entering it. At first, Macarios and Adele are hesitant to put their faith in us, given what already happened to the previous team of servants. To evaluate our strength, they have us fight a Clearanomia-infused chimera. This definitely isn't Chaldea's first rodeo, so we pull through with flying colors. Sadly, as soon as we build up some rapport with Macarios and Adele, we discover that Zeus has given Demeter permission to use her Aletheia body to hunt us down. The same authority she uses to grant people immortality can be used to take it away. Channeling the trauma from when she had to kill her own daughter, Demeter
Oh yeah,
unleashes
completely
a surge
just
of energy that
destroyed the
annihilates
city.
the city.
Yeah.
Even though the citizens can be brought back to life, dying in such a way must be horrifying, and they definitely feel the pain. Chaldea's goal is to defeat Zeus, so Demeter is a humble stepping stone at best. Regardless, Ritsuka and Mashu, kind and caring as always, hope to defeat Demeter before even more Olympians suffer. After having Mashu, Musashi, and Sherlock power up with different Clearanomia, we head out to the surface to find the city in flames. Our goal is to lure Demeter into range of the 7-link heroic spirit cannon, but we're still struggling to fight even the basic soldiers. They just keep reviving, and we have no way of permanently wounding them. Thankfully, Gordolf is able to help. You see, while the storm border was remaining hidden, its crew picked up the signal of the heroic spirit.
Canis.
Canis, after the Dioscuri nearly slaughtered her, washed up in Olympus. Needing all the help we can get,
Yeah,
Gordolf
she'll be able to
decided
definitely
have
help
Canis
out.
brought onto the border. After healing her in one of their regeneration pods, he hoped to use his kindness to convince her to join Chaldea. To sweeten the deal, he came prepared with another offering, a delicious buttery croissant. That's
Croissant.
right, Gordy hoped to appease Canis with food. Initially, his negotiations failed, causing Canis to threaten him. That said, she found his offering hilarious, and she sympathized with his regrets. Gordolf feels responsible for bringing about the attack on Chaldea and the subsequent bleaching of Earth. So even though he was terrified of Canis, he chose to face her because Chaldea truly needs her help. Furthermore, he sincerely asked her about her thoughts on her master Kirstaria, keeping an open mind throughout. Ultimately, Canis agreed to aid Chaldea as thanks for their mercy, but only until Zeus's defeat. Thus, she shows up in the fight against Demeter, and the authority she shares from Poseidon allows her to cut soldiers down without them healing. With her noble phantasm, Lapithai-Canius, she disorients Demeter, allowing Chaldea to knock her in range of the cannon. As planned, the cannon fires, blasting away Demeter's armor to expose her core. Despite this, the armor quickly begins to regenerate, nearly rendering the cannon worthless. Thankfully, after struggling so much to defeat Artemis back in Atlantis, Da Vinci anticipated further challenges ahead, and has been working around the clock to prepare a new weapon made with Sion's help. Recall that Sion is from the Atlas Institute, one of the 3 branches of the Mages Association. In general, most of Atlas's alchemists spent their days trying to overcome potential world-ending phenomena. Ironically, this effort resulted in them constructing various deadly superweapons capable of accelerating the world's end. Basically, they're just as dangerous as they are helpful. As such, these taboos are kept in storage at Atlas, never really intended for use. One of these weapons is Black Barrel, a conceptual weapon designed to impose finite lifespans on otherwise immortal creatures. Black Barrel itself still resides in Atlas, but Da Vinci and Sion were able to create a replica capable of syncing up with Mashu's Ortonax shield. Until now, Mashu's been practicing with it in simulations, but thanks to Da Vinci pushing herself, the barrel replica is now ready for practical use.
Yep,
There is a catch,
fire it
however.
off.
For the gun to fire, it requires ammunition, in this case one of Ritska's command seals.
Oh, and
We've been
command
away from
seals.
Chaldea's base at the Wandering Sea for so long now that we haven't been able to charge a surplus of seals to bring along. Thus, we only have enough spells for 3 shots. Going for broke, Mashu installs the barrel replica, and with Ritska's aid, fires it off at Demeter.
Let's
The shot
see.
tears through the mechanical
Tears
goddess,
through
killing
it?
her and
Oh,
setting
no,
her free from the torment
that's it,
of
one
having killed
shot.
her own daughter. It's rather fascinating, but
Yeah,
the
oh,
priestess
her.
of the alien god is able to comfort
The
Demeter
foreign
in her final
priestess?
moments, speaking for the very first time. While the city is saved for now, Ritska passes out from having expended so much energy. We wake up back in the Alliance base, and now that Demeter is gone, we have a chance to resume our assault on Zeus. When all the previous servants were killed off, they were busy establishing smaller summoning circles throughout Olympus in preparation of the grand summoning ritual. We'll need to finish what they started by installing the remaining circles. We head out with Makarios and Adele, but first take a detour to their home, where Caligula is being kept frozen. After sharing a lovely meal with the twins, we thaw out Caligula and take him with as we venture into the city. Establishing the first summoning point is easy enough, but while we're installing the second, we run into Koyanskaya. Again, despite the curse on his mind, Sherlock cleverly deduces Koyanskaya's true identity as a candidate for the Beast class.
Oh no, look
She's
at
delighted
that.
by this, as she can use
Oh, I was
protecting
about to
her
say,
identity as
you're
an
definitely
excuse
delighted.
to go all out for a change.
Face you just
She
made.
takes the opportunity to test out her strongest form to date, which proves so effective that we can't even hurt her. Thankfully, she still hasn't become a full-fledged beast, so she decides to spare us for another encounter. When we go to set up the third and final summoning point, Aphrodite emerges, having been given permission to use her Aletheia body. Like before, she begins to emit dangerous wavelengths that instill madness. Musashi and Sherlock become compelled to fight the party,
Alright,
and as we fight them
think
off,
I'm
even
about
Ritska winds
to
up succumbing to brainwashing.
end this in a
In
sec.
a dreamlike state, Ritska is able to speak with people who have long since died, such as
Just trying to
Patsy
find
and
a good
Ophelia. We are only able to
part.
escape this trance with the help of Edmond Dantes, who we know is especially good at entering his master's dreams. Ritska wakes up to find Caligula's noble phantasm is able to neutralize Aphrodite's brainwashing. In order to reach Aphrodite, who's floating above the atmosphere, Makarios and Adele whip out the Stymphalides Blackwing, the airships they developed with the previous group of servants. This helps us get in
Okay.
range to shoot Aphrodite with the Black Barrel, but we still need help keeping her still. With nearly all the summoning points set up, we're able to test the summoning ritual by calling forth the Setsu Armor Kumano. Using Kintoki's Giga Golden Spark, Aphrodite is disabled long enough for Mashu to take her down with the barrel replica.
Oh, and then there
We
goes the
use this
second
chance to
shot.
install the final summon point and retreat after being attacked by the Dioscuri twins. When we get back to the Alliance base,
Okay, I think, yeah, I'm gonna end it right here. So yeah, actually, I know I went a little bit, well, not even a little bit, yeah, 10 minutes over what I said, 30 minutes. But yeah, I just finished the rest of those 20 minutes just later on. So yeah, I'm not gonna do a part 1 or a part 2. I'm gonna just cut this up, and then after that, add in the other recording that I'm gonna do tomorrow. But yeah, pretty much got everything of Olympus here. Yeah, just a lot going on. What am I at? Okay. Yeah, just save that time. But yeah, just everything going on right now. So yeah, luckily they only had to use that one shot for, who was it? Demeter. Yeah, Demeter. Then you had to use a second shot on the other one. And then they're only gonna have one more left because they don't have enough command seals. But yeah, just a lot going on here. And a lot of characters that we've seen before, at least that I've seen before. Yeah, definitely know about Kirstaria, Canis. Yeah, they were literally a part of the first Lost Belt that I even looked at, or even yeah, the lore videos that I looked at. Yeah, they were some of the first, like Gordolf. Yep. And then like Mordred and Frankenstein. Yeah, literally just learning about them in Fate Apocrypha. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for this right here. Yeah, and her. Wait, let me see if I go back. Yeah, wasn't it Coin Sky or something? But basically, yeah, she's just not fully in that beast form yet. So yeah, luckily for them, yeah, not exactly got that full power yet. But yeah, pretty much that is about it. So yeah, I'm gonna just end off this little yeah certain I guess halfway point. I don't even know. But yeah, I'll just end it off here now. I'll just see you guys later for the rest 20 minutes. Okay, so here we are. Yeah, I did go back just 5 seconds or so, just so we can sort of pick right back where we left off. But yeah,
twins.
I'm gonna get right
When we
up
get back
into
to the
it.
Alliance base, we surprisingly encounter Pepe, who claims to be contacting us on behalf of Kadok. The last thing we need for the Grand Summoning Ritual is the Grand Summon article, so it's time for us to finally meet the Alliance's contributor. We're taken to the Olympus maintenance sector, where we meet Prometheus Hephaestus and even Europa. With Muramasa's
So yeah,
help,
there goes
they
the
plan to have
last
the
one,
article finished
Europa.
overnight. In the meantime, Europa proves to be quite the lovely MILF. Like Skahak Skadi, she thinks of all the Olympians and Chaldeans as her beloved children, and offers to make the Alliance dinner. The party all chips in for a lovely time. In addition, Europa gifts Mashu with a bit of Athena's authority, the sacred armor Aegis, the very same armor bestowed upon Odysseus, minus the transforming mecha horse. Musashi's not too trusting of Muramasa though, considering he's one of the alien god's apostles. Even so, we kinda have to accept his aid and be glad killing us isn't his top priority.
Yeah, better be lucky
He
he's even
tells us a
here
bit
to
about
help
how the
y'all out.
hierarchy works. Rasputin watches the cryptors, while Limbo monitors the Lost Belt Kings. Muramasa himself just takes orders from the other two. Come morning, the summon article is complete, and Europa calls it Aether. Waiting for this moment, however, Limbo and Dioscuri show up to try and claim Aether for themselves. Europa's betrayal is exposed, and Limbo captures her to bring back to Zeus, blaming her for the other gods' deaths. It's here that we have our final showdown.
Yeah, she was the only one actually going to help us out.
Unlike the other gods
compared to the other two
humans they preside over, Castor and Pollux are open about their hatred for humanity. Again, this is because in proper human history, legends of Castor began to depict him as an ordinary human, and not the child of Zeus. When the Lost Belt Castor learned of this, he felt extreme humiliation, taking his anger out on humans. Pollux, while still remaining divine, hated humanity on his behalf, doing nothing to stop her brother from succumbing to his rage. They've been demigod servants ever since Kirstaria defeated and resummoned them, so they can't use their full divine authority without damaging their spirit cores. Regardless, Castor uses it anyway, tanking the internal damage to travel at light speed. He takes Ritska hostage, but panics upon discovering that a mere human was the source of ammunition the Black Barrel used to kill the other gods. Playing off this arrogance, the party informs Castor that his childish hatred of humanity is an ironically human behavior, throwing him off his game such that he loses to Canis, who's more than happy to get revenge for Atlantis. With a spell from Makarios and Adele, the Dioscuri twins are vanquished once and for all. For what it's worth, Kirstaria isn't totally ignorant to all this happening in his own Lost Belt. He had hope that the twins could overcome their petty hatred, and is sad to learn it instead brought their downfall. He's also very shocked to learn that his own servant has switched sides. Luckily, the only god he needs to protect for his plan is Atlas, who is currently residing in the fantasy tree beyond anyone else's knowledge. As such, he doesn't have much to say when Zeus orders that Europa be executed for her treachery. Kadok's been pretty silent ever since he saved us. He was aiding the Alliance so that they could create enough of a distraction for the gods, alter egos, and other cryptors. Taking this chance, he sneaks into the cryptors' assembly hall and accesses Kirstaria's own computer. Propelling the stereotype that mages aren't good with technology, Kirstaria's password and file organization are really easy to navigate. Upon reading various documents, Kaduk realizes a couple of things that were kept a secret from the other cryptors. For one, the Earth's bleaching was not a result of the fantasy trees descending, but rather a separate phenomenon. He reasons that the alien god and Earth itself are not compatible, so the bleaching is meant to create a proper environment for when the alien god arrives. In addition, he suspects that the body the alien god will use has to come from Earth in some way. His investigation is caught by Limbo.
Yo, he's just coming through to get everybody.
Despite his best
Just
efforts,
messing
Kaduk
everything
is
up.
badly wounded, carved into by Limbo's tastelessly long claws. The wounded cryptor finds his way to Kirei, who, as I mentioned earlier, feels an obligation to help him due to Anastasia's last request. Naturally, we want to save Europa before she gets executed, so we once again take flight with the Stymphalides. Our ascent is met with resistance, and so we have no choice but to crash land just below the orbital shrine. The only path before us is the massive Machia corridor, designed to accommodate the gods' machine bodies. Because of this, it takes a while to traverse, and plenty of soldiers stand in our way.
Oh, them?
Worst of all is Limbo, who
Yeah, they
continues
came
to piss
back.
Musashi off with his immortality. Peperoncino also has a beef with Ashiadomen, and so he uses his Tengu arts to permanently cancel out Limbo's Shikigami. Basically, this means that the next time we meet Ashiadomen,
There'll
we
be
can
a
finally
last?
kill his
Yeah.
main body. Ritsuka's party eventually reaches the altar room, and Zeus gets the clever idea to have the Chaldeans be the ones to execute Europa. He's brainwashed her into fighting us, along with her giant Talos. After an emotional fight, we're able to destroy Talos, and Sherlock knocks Europa out with a Baritsu technique. Zeus doesn't understand why Chaldea would have any mercy, given that we aim to essentially kill off his entire world. Just because we want to protect our own world and take it back from the bleaching, that doesn't mean we have to be dicks about it. As expected, though, there's really no way to talk things out, so Zeus transforms into his Aletheia body. He's insurmountably strong, and we're only able to survive thanks to Mashu's shield, which has Athena's blessing. Zeus declares his intent to keep the records of Olympus's humans and resume his interstellar journey. Things look dire as he unlocks more of the limiters restraining his authority, but luckily Makarios and Adele are able to begin the great summoning ritual. First, they attack with the Setsu Armor Kumano, which is essentially a stand-in for the war god Ares. Zeus smashes through it, only to be confronted by the Ares
Yeah,
from
that
proper human
quick.
history. Of
Oh, no,
course,
it's still
Zeus
going?
already defeated the lostbelt Ares long ago, so summoning a different Ares is only a temporary inconvenience. The true value of the summoning ritual comes when the Grand Lancer, Romulus Quirinus, emerges. Ares and Romulus put Zeus on the ropes, weakening him enough for Mashu
Oh,
to
that
charge and
last
fight
shot.
off Ritsuka's last command spell. Black Barrel blasts a hole right through Zeus's stupid face, but sadly this only gives rise to an even greater threat. Zeus's defeat leaves behind a tear in space-time, a void through which the primordial god Chaos can peer through. Recall that Chaos exists in another universe, after having sent out the other gods through the barrier between that universe and ours. This tear allows Chaos to interact with Olympus, and just like Zeus, it intends to use the planet as a means of traveling the stars once more. In this case, however, Chaos plans to consume a third of the planet, leaving it to die as a result. As the original mothership, Chaos has the authority of all other gods, and immediately uses them to vaporize Ares. Having used our last command spell, we have no means of fighting back. Plus, Chaos is too far away to reach even if we could, and just when we all lose hope, Musashi realizes her purpose. We don't have to defeat Chaos, but rather just seal up the void between universes.
Yeah, that's
Who better to slay
really
a
all you
void
gotta
than
do.
the swordsman who has reached a state of
because
zero?
like you can't really fight them. They
Zeus
don't have
gone,
no
the warrior
more
is free to move again,
anything
and
left to
catches
fight
up
'em
Ritsuka's
with.
party using
So
some
yeah,
newly
just seal it
developed
up.
flight gear. Yep, the storm border is now a spaceship. Musashi
Transformed
convinces
into a
Nemo to escort
spaceship.
her to the rift in space-time, but what appears to be a straight shot at Chaos proves to be anything but. The space surrounding Chaos is distorted, and it'll take way too long to reach if they continue to navigate
Yeah,
this
that's the
wavy
problem.
path.
It's like, how are you
Thus,
gonna really
Romulus decides to use the rest of
seal
his
it
divine
up?
energy to forge a linear path for the border.
Oh no,
Standing on
made
the
that
ship's bow,
path.
Musashi readies her ultimate attack, a slash that can not only reach a state of nothingness, but also transcend it. Ritsuka cries and curses Musashi for sacrificing herself like this. After all, by reaching beyond zero, Musashi won't just be dying, she'll be effectively erasing both the void and herself from existence.
Wait, for real?
She's not a proper heroic spirit, only manifesting as a fluke
Yeah,
from her bond
man,
with
they
Ritsuka,
gonna really get
so
rid of
there's
her.
no guarantee she can ever be summoned again from the throne of heroes.
So this
Nonetheless,
is really
Musashi
it.
is willing to do it. She declares her love for Ritsuka, Mashu, and the other
Break through the
Chaldeans.
void to
They
reach the
accepted
truth.
her, a vagabond whose home
Or at least
had
she
long
found her
since
purpose
vanished.
right
Declaring
beforehand.
to surpass her father, Shinmen Munisai, she unleashes her ultimate attack, Kengo Bato, Ishana Daitensho.
I'm not
Carving
even
into
gonna
the
remember
void,
that, but
she bathes everyone's vision in a bright light, and when the light subsides,
Yup.
neither Musashi nor the void remain. Chaldea's records only display her as data lost. I'd known this was coming for a while now, but that doesn't make it any easier. Thankfully, we can still use her in battle, but she won't be appearing in the story ever again, unless Nasu retcons this, though I'll admit that'd be a bit of a buzzkill. Romulus also vanishes, though his parting isn't nearly as permanent. Not letting Musashi's sacrifice be in vain, we proceed to the fantasy tree. Canis returns to Kirshtaria, having fulfilled her agreement with Gordolf. We fight the overpowered Cryptor once more, but this time endure his god-tier magecraft with the various blessings we've obtained throughout the Lost Belt. Before the fight can conclude, the alien god attempts to manifest within the tree, but is blocked because Kirshtaria has been using the tree to house the Titan Atlas. He declares his intent to turn humans into gods, and Ashia Doman takes this as a sign of betrayal. Canis defends her master by fighting Doman, leaving Ritsuka and Kirshtaria to have a proper duel. After admitting defeat, Kirshtaria apologizes that he can no longer reverse the god conversion process, not so long as the tree stands. Being a god doesn't seem to be too bad, right? Well, Beryl Gut doesn't think so. He's a sick, twisted murderer who'd find a world of gods boring because it wouldn't let him kill anyone. He's been plotting against Kirshtaria this entire time, not telling the truth regarding his own British Lost Belt. The trees of emptiness are connected to each other, so Beryl uses his own tree to ignite Magellan from the inside. According to him, he really pissed off his Lost Belt's fairy population, and should he openly declare his location, they'll retaliate. Sure enough, we see a familiar sight. The Holy Lance Rongominyad strikes down at Beryl, prepared to destroy the entire area. Kirshtaria has no choice but to protect everyone with a barrier, leaving him vulnerable as Beryl fatally stabs him. Canis finishes her fight against Ashia Doman too late, leaving her unable to save her master. While Beryl has technically thwarted Kirstaria's treachery, Kirei still considers him an enemy of the foreign god. Backed into a corner, Beryl calls for an escort back to his own Lost Belt. Koyanskaya appears, agreeing to help Beryl in exchange for getting to see one of Britain's most unique creatures, the Dragon of Albion. The bastard escapes, giving us something to look forward to in the next chapters.
Yep.
Putting an end to the god
Escapes
conversion,
right
Muramasa
after.
appears
I mean,
and
he
slices
accomplished
Atlas
his
in
goal
two,
and he was
finally
gone.
allowing the alien god to descend. Nobody, not
Or
even
at least
the
whatever he
apostles,
had
have
of
been able to
that.
witness the very god they serve. Technically, God isn't even the right word for it, but rather the best thing we have to describe such a powerful being. As such, it
So
comes
it's
as a
even more
huge
powerful
surprise
than a
when the
god,
body the
basically.
alien god appears in happens to look just like Olga Marie Animesphere, Chaldea's former director who was incinerated by Lev Leiner all the way back at the start of our journey. Apparently, this body wasn't intended, a puny form caused by a premature manifestation. What's fascinating is that, for as imposing as the alien god is meant to be, her personality seems to mimic that of Olga's. Therefore, she is arrogant and, dare I say, bratty. She calls herself you, Olga Marie, and is manifested as Beast 7, the final slot of the Beast.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Cause yeah, there's only
we don't even bother
so
trying
many
to fight
slots
back.
they could have
Chaldea feels like they've
for
been
those
defeated right
beasts.
from the start, but it's the dying Kirshtaria who proves us wrong. Barely clinging to life, he reasons that so long as Chaldea survives, they haven't lost. He uses his last offense, his serious light, to retaliate against Olga. It doesn't cause any damage, but just the idea that humans would dare to fight back is enough to completely throw her off guard. The alien god retreats, taking Rasputin and Muramasa with her so she can better research the planet she aims to conquer. As devastating as this is, we've technically completed our objective. The fantasy tree has been burned away, and it's only a matter of time until the Lost Belt disappears. The Stormborder comes to pick us up, but it'll take a while since Chaos was so far away. With the shrine crumbling around us, we won't last long enough for the border to arrive. Europa can use the last of her mana to protect us in a floating barrier, but she only has enough for Ritska, Mashu, and Sherlock. She, Makarios, and Adele have to stay behind. We tragically say our goodbyes to them before drifting away. As the shrine collapses, Makarios and Adele find solace in finally breaking free of their daily stagnation. Yet, ironically, they don't want to die. In an ideal world, they would have wanted to age normally, to see each other become adults in both mind
that's what
and
they
body.
wanted to do, having to
Canis stays by
constantly
her
be the
master's side in his
same
final
age.
moments.
Reliving
Kirstaria
the
explains
same
how, despite
things.
Barrel's betrayal, he actually yearned to be friends with all the other cryptors. He did save the world with them through dreams, after all. His dying sentiment is a proclamation that he would have liked to make such dreams a reality. Without a master, Canis uses her final moment alive and takes flight. She pursues Chaldea back to the Stormborder and demands they settle the score through one more fight.
Okay,
She
got that
arrives at her
different
highest
armor.
ascension, the point at which she's no longer just blessed by Poseidon, but a genuine proxy for Poseidon in her own right. She's no longer just the woman whom Poseidon violated. She's the woman who has taken his place in recompense. It's an unnecessary fight that Ritska prevails through to properly respond to Canis' feelings. She vanishes, allowing the party to take shelter in the Stormborder and chart their way back to the Wandering Sea. Inside, we discover that Kirei, in an attempt to save Kadok, dropped by the border and delivered him to us. Kadok's in a healing pod, and once he fully recovers, we plan to interrogate him as originally intended. It's kinda crazy how we're now the safest option. Going forward, we have our work cut out for us. We still haven't heard anything about David and his Lost Belt. Meanwhile, Barrel's British Lost Belt seems incredibly dangerous. The alien god has emerged, but isn't taking action right now, so hopefully we can find a way to fight back in the meantime. Ritska and Mashu worry about the prospect of fighting their old friend, but what helps them through is the idea that they want to somehow save Olga, not kill her. They believe she's being used by the alien god against her will, and hope to make things right. Before getting a chance to rest, Mounier comes to deliver Ritska a recording, a video recorded back at the Alliance base, in which Musashi and the others planned a victory meal, should they win. It's a wonderful idea that will sadly never come to pass. You, Olga, after all of this, has decided to investigate Barrel's Lost Belt to learn more about Rungo Miniad, which she considers a threat. Muramasa plans to accompany her, while Kirei sets out to find a stronger vessel for her. Kirei drops a hint that, perhaps, he can use the body of one of the Ultimate Ones, presumably Ort, or Type Mercury, a being that came to Earth and lays dormant in South America. I'll leave that for later, though. Or you could check out my lessons in Magecraft on the Ultimate Ones.
Oh, well, hey man, I'm already going through it, so I gotta see what number it is. Hey man, I'm already going through it, so eventually I'll make it up to there.
Lost Belt 5 is officially complete.
So that's number 5.
I may be mistaken, but I think the next event I cover will be the previous voyage Nemo made with his Nemo series. I hope you all look forward to it.
Alright, and that way...
Before I go ahead and roll the credits, I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters.
Okay, just supporters. That is about it for this. Yeah, just doing his supporters. Okay. Yeah, that was a lot. I mean, not exactly an hour, but still about an hour long, you know, with me doing the extra talking right now. Yeah, man. So yeah, that was Olympus, the 5th Lost, but I'm pretty sure I'm about done with like all of them, right? Or at least the ones that, you know, have the story like this. Like, yeah, there still are some Lost Belts I gotta look at, but there's only like AMVs or something. Just previews, trailers of it that I've seen. See, I don't know if there's an actual like, you know, lore video from him like this. or if the official story has been released yet. But yeah, that is it. Yeah, Musashi, man. So yeah, not the proper heroic spirit. So yeah, she's not gonna be able to come back at all. That sacrifice that she made. But at least she found her purpose, was able to, yeah, surpass her father. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I mean, my thing is, I mean, I know I saw the lore video of her, you know, like, well, I don't even remember, but like, basically it was about her. Cause yeah, I just didn't get to see much of her at all, really. So yeah, I just saw that lore video. Cause yeah, really here throughout this whole time, Musashi, yeah, we didn't even really get to see her fight like that. You know, like she's mentioned here or there, you know, doing this or that, but it's not like she's really fighting until like the end part right here. So yeah, you got that. But yeah, just Zeus. Basically one of those guys that they had to take care of. And yeah, Europa, yeah, the one that actually wasn't gonna try and kill him or whatever, yeah, stopped them from accomplishing their goal. Yeah, she actually tried to help him out compared to the other two that just got defeated. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for this. Oh wait, yeah, really, I ain't got much else to say. So yeah, I'm gonna just end it off here. Yeah, nothing much else to say. Yeah, I'll do some more lore videos later on. Yeah, if you guys want me to. And I'll just try and do it like this. Like, yeah, look at half of it here, then cut the rest of it later on. But yeah, other than that though, hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you like, subscribe again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.